Oh, well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever it is, wherever you're at. This is Brian with the Horror Experience, and I am continuing on with some reviews of some independent films and some stuff that I've watched recently that I haven't watched in a long time, and some stuff that I've actually talked about um, in previous videos, but it's been a while, so I figured I'd do a review on it. The first one is Siren, unrated. Now, Siren is, like I talked about in my last video, this was stripped from the original 2012 VHS found footage anthology film that was done by David Bruckner, who did the segment known as Amateur Night, which was dealing with the succubus uh, demon woman who chooses a guy who's actually getting married, and he's on a bachelor party thing and going out to have sex with a bunch of women or whatever, and then he finds this demon woman locked up in this strange club, nightclub, that's actually a cult. And for some reason, they have this woman locked up. Well, we find out why they have her locked up, because she's a demon. Now, the movie is basically the same thing. The only difference is they use her as she's a siren in this, but she's still this demon, human flesh munching, blood drinking monster, technically, with a long tail and runs around naked, has bat wings and everything else, just like in the segment. Now, the segment didn't show a lot because obviously it was their first time doing it, and I'm sure it was quite a bit. The budget probably wasn't there. This had a bigger budget, obviously. Now, they did drag Hannah Fireman, or Fearman, I guess is how you pronounce it, from the segment. She plays the succubus, or the siren, and they dragged her into this movie. So she's in this also. Very fun. Very fun. Very twisty. Now, if you don't want spoilers, then turn the video off, because I am going to tell you a little bit about this movie. It probably doesn't matter, because you're going to get a lot more enjoyment watching it, even if you know how it ends. It really doesn't matter to me, necessarily. It'll make you decide whether or not you want it in your collection. I recommend it. But in this segment, there is a lot more sex and more, there's private parts and everything showing in the segment, which was on the VHS film. How they got away with an R is beyond me. I don't know how they did that. They must have. I don't even know if the people even watched the damn thing from the whoever who did the rating. They probably just says R next, because there was some there's some sexual stuff, and there's a lot of nudity, male nudity, including parts, and female nudity, including parts, and this does not have that. This is unrated though, which is funny, and it has gore in it, but it is unrated. So, but anyway, she's a lot more. You can see a lot more of this gal in this, obviously, compared to the segment, and she's a lot more detailed in this. But they did use the same actress, so you have the same face and this, that kind of thing, and the same little kind of a line down the middle of her head. And it's the same premise. We have a guy, the same synopsis, a guy who's getting married, or is married. I can't remember what it was, but who goes on the goes with a bunch of buddies to go have a bachelor party. So they go to a bar and hang out. Then they get this invitation to go to this deep in the woods nightclub that's a really strange, like a mansion type thing. They show up. It's really dark. It's really weird. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the nightclub that was in Hellraiser 3. Where they have just, it's real dark and satanic, like, kind of gothic. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, they have like women that they can go back and screw or whatever, and they got really weird drinks. One where there's a leech in it, like kind of like I think they actually did, if I remember correctly, in the segment, they actually were drinking, I think they were drinking tequila that has the worm. But in this one, they were drinking this really strange drink called murder. And, and it has a leech in it. And when you drink it, you basically just go into fucking Fruit Loop land, you just get all screwed up. And so one guy ends up drinking it, and he pretty much throughout the rest of the movie, he's pretty much just this zombie. and then but anyway, once they go to the back, this guy goes, "Hey, there's a woman back there." We're talking about the leader, and we find out that this nightclub is actually a front for a cult. That I'm guessing it's a satanic cult of a sort, because they have people in black robes, and they're, in certain rooms throughout the building, they have people, with circles and that kind of thing, and they're all standing around with their black robes on. So it looks very satanic. What they're worshiping, they don't really get into detail, but there's a lot of strange beings that are in here, and one of them is an actress that has like leeches in her hair that move around. She's kind of like Medusa, except it's leeches moving around. And she wears a wig over the top of the leeches, and she only exposes the leeches to put them in your drink. It's really weird. But anyway, this guy wants to, he's getting married, and he wants to have one last screw with a prostitute or something. And so the owner or leader of this nightclub says, "Well, go to the back. There's a gal back there, and you can fool around there in a back room." And so he goes back there, and he runs into this room that has this strange gal in it. And the door is locked with chain and lock. And that makes him wonder that there's something wrong here. That maybe there's some kind of sex trafficking going on, that they've got this woman captive. And so he figures out a way to jimmy the lock and releases this gal, and she falls in love with him. And then he finds out, obviously, that she isn't what he thinks she is. She's not just some girl. She is a siren, or a succubus. She uses a song, kind of like a siren. There's a certain song that's used for sirens, and throughout movies and cartoons and everything else, whenever there's a siren, in the Masters of the Universe cartoon reboot from 2002, there's an episode in there where Ram Man runs into a siren and uses the exact same song that's on here. And I thought that was funny. I'm wondering if they looked at that and thought, "Oh, we'll use that song." Of course, the siren in the cartoon turns out to be Evil Lynn, who's trying to get a hold of some kind of device that Man-at-Arms has invented that freezes people. So she's using this siren disguise, or whatever you want to call it, and she sings, and she gets Ram Man to basically follow her every order and that kind of thing, and to steal his device. Anyway, the siren in this uses the same song, and it's basically the same idea. It just freezes you when she sings, and you're that way you're pretty much defenseless. So moving on, once they find out that she's actually this creature who ends up with teeth and all of that, just like in the segment on VHS, they get out of there. They take their zombified friend and all that and take him into the car, and they boogie out of there and are trying to get out of there. Well, the siren has found them rather, and takes one of the guys and throws him out of the car, and then they crash and all this other shit. Well, it turns out that this gal really likes the bachelor who's getting married, who's the subject of the bachelor party, and so she falls in love with him, just like in the segment. And once you're chosen by the Siren or by the succubus, you are done. You're hers. There's nothing. There's no. She does not take no for an answer. So you're done. You're stuck. End of story. You are hers now forever. And at any rate, so they all get separated. She takes off with him, and there's a really cool scene where she lifts him up and takes her, and you see his friend just kind of disappear in the distance. It's really crazy. It's just like in the segment where, and she ends up taking him to this spot out in the woods somewhere, throws him in this little hole thing and tries to keep him captive. She screws him and then falls asleep. He wakes up and escapes while she's asleep. Eventually he does relocate his friends, and then they are captured by the cult. And the leader of the cult wants his siren back because it's part of his collection of oddities, I guess. I don't know whether he's doing some kind of sideshow or he's using them for something. He goes, well, it's my star attraction. So I'm assuming it's some kind of a sideshow thing that he's got going on, too, along with the nightclub and the cult. And so anyway, they capture him, and they take him back to the house and to the club, and the other guys are there as well, and they all get injured, and she shows back up and kills off a bunch of the cult members and the leader, and eventually she lets him go. She says, I will. She doesn't say it in any words necessarily, but it's kind of like, I know you're getting married and all that kind of a thing, and I'll just let you go. I'm going to be nice, and which is kind of strange. But anyway, so we fast forward, and now he's home with his wife and with his soon-to-be or wife, and his friends are home and everything else. But anyway, he's home. She falls asleep on the couch. Fast forward, they end up in bed, have sex. He comes back downstairs after he wakes up. She's in bed with him. And he gets downstairs and his wife is on the couch still. It's like, weren't I just having sex with you? When did you come down here, And then all of a sudden he realizes that it was her that he was having sex with the whole time. It wasn't his wife at all. She was on the couch the whole time. So anyway, she shows back up again, comes downstairs, and he's like, what are you doing here? You cannot be here. This is my wife, blah, blah, blah. And the wife wakes up and sees this naked demon standing in the living room with her husband, and she screams, and the siren decides that she's going to kill the wife. Well, he stops her and says, listen, leave her alone. Do not kill her. I will go with you. Just don't hurt her. So she refrains from hurting the wife, and then they fly off in the distance. End of movie. And you see him hanging from her, and she's just this bat woman flying off into the sunset, and the wife is screaming his name. I forget what his name was right offhand. I probably should. A week before the big wedding day, Jonah. She's like, Jonah, Jonah, and you're seeing the succubus flying off with him. And he went with her willingly. End of movie. Good movie, spoiler. But you know what? The spoiler doesn't, it doesn't give you justice. You really have to see it. Now, this is strange. I think this was probably the first release of this on DVD that I picked up about 8 years ago. And it doesn't even have a title page or a title screen. You put the movie in, the disc in, and it just goes right to the movie. And then when it ends, it just repeats. It goes right to the movie again, to the beginning. So there's no title page or screen. There's no special features or anything. But I think that may be different on later releases. But anyway, good one. This one was directed by David Bruckner did the segment from VHS, but this was done by Greg Bishop, and he did Dance of the Dead, that was off of the Ghost House Underground collection, which was a fun movie. He also did another movie called The Other Side from 2006. Dance of the Dead is 2008, by the way. That is probably one of the funniest zombie spoof movies you'll see. It is just funny. If you haven't seen it, check it out. Definitely. It's off the Ghost House Underground collection. Some people are telling me that stuff is out of print, which is very possible. When I was still on Facebook, I had a friend who says he can't even find them anymore. He found one movie out of the whole collection of however many movies it was. I can't remember, 15 or 20 movies. And, or maybe it was less than that. But anyway, he says he can't find any of the others. So they may be just gone now. But anyway, if you can find it, you can probably find it streaming. The next one is a brand new arrival that came in with my horror pack May delivery, which I covered. And the film is called Sequel, Cruel Summer 2. Now that pisses me off because I hate it when I get the second of something and I don't have the original. So I did find the original. Actually, believe it or not, I can't find it on Amazon, but I can find it on Walmart. Walmart online has it, but I don't order from Walmart, nor do I shop from Walmart. To me, they're as far as I'm concerned, the whole company could go under. I hate Walmart. I can't stand their shit. I can't stand their delivery service is crap. We used to use them for delivery, and I stopped after they stopped using DoorDash for groceries. Because I like shopping like I like being butt-fucked by a dead dog, you know. I do not like fucking shopping. And I don't like being around tons and tons of people either, because people, in general, make me want to vomit. So, aren't I a nice guy? Yeah, I am. Hey, takes all kinds to make the world turn. No, I have friends, and I do like people, but not terribly. I could do with or without. Most of my friends, I'm good for 10 minutes. My wife is good enough. I spent 27 years with her. I'm used to her now, but everybody else is just... You can come and go. It doesn't make any difference to me. Sequel, Cruel Summer 2. Now, this was the second movie done by Scott Tepperman, who, if you know who that is, he used to be on Ghost Hunters, which was a series that ran on Sci-Fi. I think it was the early 2000s, up until it was canceled, and then he started making independent horror movies. And so he's kind of like this up-and-coming David Sterling. And anyway, Cruel Summer is his baby right now that he's doing, and he named the second film Sequel. He happens to be a huge fan of sequels, and he's a huge fan of VHS films. Not the series, not the franchise, but the VHS themselves, the tapes. He loves to collect VHS. He's got a huge collection in his library of his favorite, all-time favorite sequel of any movie is Grease 2. I don't think I've ever seen Grease 2. A lot of people actually liked it better than the original. I have the first Grease, but I've never saw the second one, and that makes me kind of wonder about it. He talked about it in the special features. Anyway, this is about a serial killer known as Gunnar. A little bit of Texas Chainsaw Massacre tribute there, I'm assuming, for Gunnar Hansen. Anyway, he goes around and kills these kids that basically go on your typical summer vacation cabin or house or whatever it was from the original film. Now in this movie they do take you back to the original and show you what was going on there, so you can put two and two together. So you don't necessarily need to see the original in order to watch this, but it's nice to have it, so I want to get it. And I found it on Walmart, like I said, but I'm going to probably end up getting it either, if I don't get it in Horror Pack, which I know that they've already got the first one in their lineup. If I don't get it with Horror Pack, then I'll probably go over to Scream Team Releasing, which is the company that released this along with Horror Pack. As you can see here, I don't know if you can see that or not, but not a whole lot of light here. You can see Horror Pack right there. So along with Scream Team Releasing and Horror Pack, this was distributed, and so it's an exclusive. But anyway, it's fun, gory, low budget, but I think you'll enjoy it. And there is a 3 coming out, hopefully sometime this summer. And it's called Pray for Fall. Yeah, it's just called Cruel Summer 3, Pray for Fall. So he's doing a 3rd one. He had planned on quitting after the 3rd one and just leaving it a trilogy, and there is word now that he is doing a 4, and that's because of fan requests. Fan funded. So he says he'll do it with a $25,000 budget. So hopefully next year we'll get the 4th one. The 3rd one is in post-production, so it should be out, if not this month, it should be out sometime this summer. So I'm looking forward to that, and hopefully it'll come in my Horror Pack. And if it doesn't, then I'll probably go to Scream Team Releasing and get it. Scream Team Releasing. If you like independent horror films, go to Scream Team Releasing on Google. Just type that in. Just type Scream Team, and it'll pop up in your search results as Scream Team Releasing. Hit that, and you've got lists of movies to choose from, including these. And many of them are signed by in fact, the first movie, if I don't get it with Horror Pack in the next 2 months, then I'm just going to buy it from Scream Team Releasing with the poster signed by the cast and crew. So, the second movie, they've decided that they're going to do a theater play as therapy to help them get over the murders and so on that they dealt with in the first movie. Well, the killer comes back while they're doing this, and it's fun. You'll like it. If you like independent horror, you'll enjoy it. Well, that's all I really had today. We're at 23 minutes. It's still a long video. It's because I'm yapping too much. All right, guys. We'll talk at you later, and I'll see you on the